Hi, welcome to the Catholic Corner. I'm Monsignor Walter Nolan. My guest today is a young man that I'm very proud to be a friend of and proud to know because he has such great integrity of his family, his faith, and all the things he does. Matt Greeley. Matt right now is the Associate Director for the Diocese of Trenton Office of Communications. I guess I first met Matt when he was working with the diocese in youth and young adult ministry. Did an excellent job because he's just like a man who wants to share his faith with many others coming up in their youth. In his new position, though, in the Office of Communications, Matt hopes to build connections between the Latino community and the larger church. This young man is fluent in Spanish. Part of his new role in the diocese is to translate messages from our own bishop, press releases, and other diocesan material into the Spanish language. He's also the editor of our quarterly diocesan Spanish language newspaper, Paces. Matt also serves as a producer and host of the diocesan Spanish language television program, Cristo para Todos. And Cristo para Todos, translated in English, means Christ for everyone. Perfect title. Keeping the Spanish-speaking community up to date on local and world news, Matthew manages the Spanish language elements of our diocesan social media and web presence. He also serves as the spiritual director for the diocesan television and internet ministry to teenagers, Real Faith TV, another gifted program for our diocese. Matt, welcome.
Thank you much.
Always great to be in your presence. You're just a
great,
fine young man. And so tell me about this new role of yours. I'm kind of got to get up to date with the new news as Associate Director of the Office of Communications. You snuck that in on me.
I really don't know how it happened. Yes, it's amazing.
God's Spirit.
Yes, there it is. And I really do. I feel that it is a gift from God to be able to be involved in this now, a different kind of ministry, a different kind of work. I get to really embrace the Latino wannabe in me. I really am a Latino wannabe. I tell everybody I'm Irish Italian, but I'm Peruvian at heart, and it's just a great opportunity for me to now be able to work more. Not only with I can continue with my relationships with the youth ministers that I've built, over these years, but now being able to really try and help people to broaden their approach of how they walk with people, in particular in the Hispanic community.
You snuck that in on me too, Italian, Irish background, but Peruvian at heart. What's this Peruvian at heart?
Well, out of college, I was blessed. I had the opportunity to serve as a Jesuit volunteer for 2 years, and it's similar to the Peace Corps, Jesuit Volunteers. It's a 2-year international service program, and I went to Peru.
Okay, yeah. That's how you got this Peruvian.
That's it.
Those Jesuits will grab all of us somehow or other.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about, you really embrace this culture, which is not easy. Lots of times you can read in another language or say a few words, but to just let it flow out of you, because you can't think and then speak, you just react.
Well, and it's taken a lot of work. It hasn't always been easy. When I was in Peru, my first year there, I feel like I had a headache all day, every day for the first 10 months to a year. But really it is something now, just a chip gets switched in my mind, and I'm able to it's a gift, and it's opened many doors, like the door now to be part of the Office of Communication. I've also it's opened doors to this amazing community. I should say many communities, because every culture, every country kind of has its own perspective and spirituality and personality.
And all of the communities that I've ever dealt with, they're beautiful people.
Yes.
Just like all of us. We're all God's sons and daughters, which is a wonderful, wonderful gift.
Yes.
Tell me, though, how has the way maybe that, has our diocese changed a little bit, the way it ministers to the Latino community?
We have. The past, I would say, 10 years or so, there were cultural apostolates that were created to really walk more specifically with specific cultural groups. We had a Haitian apostolate in the Diocese of Trenton, an Hispanic apostolate, and a Black apostolate. And Bishop O'Connell has restructured the diocesan offices and really restructured the diocesan perspective. The apostolates no longer exist, and a lot of the events and the work, the ministry that was done through the apostolates is now being done through the Department of Youth, Marriage, and Family Life. And so it's really the vision. It wasn't to try and punish or take anything away from any of our cultural brothers and sisters, but really to try and strategize on how we can unify and really do more to celebrate and grow together and walk together in faith. So, you know, just coming from a youth ministry perspective in the Department of Youth, Marriage and Family Life, you know, earlier, how to more intentionally, you know, create a diocesan youth celebration, for example, that isn't just for the English-speaking community or the gringos, you know, but that might really speak to other teens and their cultural perspectives too. So it's a whole change of approach.
And how we can all, I guess, even emotionally feel the perspective of faith from different cultures.
Definitely.
It's a beautiful thing to see music that's a little different, or the excitement that's a little different, or to put it into maybe words that kind of resonate, and you can always learn those words and make them part of your own life.
Definitely, and even the images, you know, just something that really stood out to me, and it kind of, I'm not the brightest star in the sky, but something that kind of brings that idea home is there's a Cuscanian crucifix from Cusco, Peru, that it almost looks like a cartoon Christ on the cross, and huge hands and huge feet. Well, the people in Peru, they walk everywhere they go, and they can relate to Jesus as a pilgrim, someone who walked, you know, and did his ministry walking. And he worked with his hands, you know, the son of a carpenter. So they also, you know, labor and work with their hands. So the way that, you know, on this crucifix, for example, in this one image, it helps them. That's how they identify more and really allow Christ to identify with them. It's just.
But isn't it true through the ages? I mean, the artists through the ages, they depict Christ, the Blessed Mother, in different faces. Look at Lady Guadalupe.
Yes,
you know, it's just another expression that they can resonate with their culture in the beautiful appearance of the Blessed Mother.
Definitely. And in terms of the restructuring and this new approach to the diocese, I look at Our Lady of Guadalupe as another example. Really, she's the patroness of the Americas, you know, so from Canada down to the tip of Argentina, she's our patroness. So how can we better, you know, look to her as someone who unifies and do that as well?
A long time ago, I was in Mexico, and I was down there, and a young boy, he must have been like 9 years old, came up to me and he said, "Mister, do you want me to explain to you?" And I said, "What a wonderful, wonderful gift."
Sure,
you know, what
he
a
knows
wonderful
that
gift.
story. It's part of his story.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you know, when they explain it, it's different than I would have probably looked at it and tried to explain it myself.
Sure.
Tell me about this Cristo para Todos, the Spanish language show that you host and produce, and wonderful.
It's really amazing, and just the creativity, you know, it's been in existence for a few years now, the program. So yeah, it means Christ for all, Christ for everyone. And there are different segments to each program. In each show, we have a different theme, and it's fascinating. It's exciting to be a part of it. But we have a guest who comes on to help break open whatever the theme is, similar to the Catholic Corner, and you know how you do it. And I'm trying to be like you, Monsignor, and just really to do it in Spanish, though. How's your Spanish? We'll get you on the show.
Not good at all.
But we also, one of the segments is a skit, and we try and make them funny and creative and kind of break open the theme from a different perspective. But then in the show, we pray together, we sing, we have a music ministry as well, Gethsemane, that is part of every show. They sing a couple songs. We have interviews with our guests. I mean, it's really, we have opportunities to pray as well. So we invite the viewers to walk with us.
Now, tell me about the time of the show. Or is it once a week? Is it a half hour? Tell them.
We, I think, are now putting it out there every 2 weeks. We have a new episode going out, and you know, maybe in the future we'll get more up there, and so it would be a weekly. I don't really know how that works yet. I'm still pretty green and trying to, you know, I have a lot to learn. But yes, it's not only on some of our local stations, but also on, we have a YouTube channel, Cristo para Todos, DOT, for Diocese of Trenton. And so everyone can check it out on YouTube too, all the episodes.
And someday you're going to go into the gas station and get your gas, and somebody's going to say, "I know you." That'll happen. Believe me, it'll happen. It'll happen. What are your hopes and dreams for the show? How do you expect it to expand, or viewers to be involved?
Well, really, just through the guests, like, you know, I've been a part of the show again for about a month and a half now, so very new. But the diversity of voices that we are able to kind of put out there on the show here in Riverview Studios, it's just amazing to break open these different themes. And so my hope is to plant seeds and to open doors for people so that they'll want to know Christ more, welcome Christ more into their lives, and with an enthusiasm and a love and a joy that I think is really transmitted through the show too.
And it's amazing how I think the Spirit is moving us worldwide, even into understanding and to take from different parts of cultures and music and sports and just the drama, poetry, and all of a sudden start to realize that, you know what, we all are the same, except we might just do it a little differently and express it a little differently. But you know what, I've learned in my life, fellas love their girls and girls love their fellas and fellas and girls love their kids. I mean, it's the same all over the world if we can just capture that.
Sure. And
I think what you're doing, Matt, is part of that inspiration to bring it about. So God bless you and keep doing those kind of things.
It's exciting.
Was it an adjustment though? Because I knew you pretty much when you did the youth work. Was it an adjustment for you to kind of work, now in television and a different milieu, so to speak, and be in front of the cameras?
Definitely a huge adjustment, and I don't want it to go to my head because, to be honest, it's fun, and I really do enjoy it, and I don't want to lose that, and I don't want to lose my humility. I don't want to. You
will never do that. I know you, Matthew. You will never do that.
I hope not, because I got to say, to be honest, I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun.
And you know why I can tell you won't do it? Because your children at home are going to be watching it, and they're going to say, "Mommy, Daddy's on."
Yeah, turn the channel. Bring us Mickey Mouse. Yeah.
But it's just so good to be part of families and part of that love that you're growing into. I know you have a few clips
Yes.
of one of your recent shows.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell me what we're going to go see, and then let's see how it's going to work out.
All right, great. We tried to pull in a few clips that will show some different components of our show. Right.
Now it's all in Spanish, I think, huh?
Yes.
But you're going to stop the tape and you're going to tell us what's going on.
Yeah, I'll explain.
Thank you very, very much, Matthew.
Awesome.
I told everybody you're a great guy. Bless you.
Pero no imposible. Depende de nosotros solamente la paz del mundo y un futuro más feliz. ¿Quién tiene el control de todo lo que ocurre? Porque a veces no entendemos la voluntad del Padre. Quédate con nosotros que hoy en Cristo para Todos, Dios tiene el control.
In that clip, it just shows that's how we introduce each episode. Erica Rodriguez, she's from Costa Rica, and she's been part of Cristo para Todos, the TV show, since it began, really. And she's amazing and just very animated and excited always. So she's my co-host. And so we break open the theme with kind of just a generic, or not generic, but we focus to frame the show. And so it's awesome. And we have some people who come and watch the show too. So sometimes there's a live studio audience, which is amazing to be a part of. So it's neat. And so that kind of, every show will frame what we're gonna do. And then as we get into the show, we'll show part of a skit. There's usually a first act, and then a second act to the skit. And then we go to our interviews, which when we bring someone on, it's actually 2 interviews. The first one is really, so if I were interviewing you, Monsignor Nolan, I would ask you'd share who's Monsignor Nolan and something about yourself. And then it's the second part of the interview where we break open the topic for the day with the guest and really dig in. So it's exciting. And I think now this next clip, we'll see part of one of the ends of one of the interviews.
Porque el ser cristiano no significa que vamos a tener una cruz en la plaza. Eso no es el símbolo de un cristiano. Un símbolo de un cristiano es cómo vive su fe, es cómo transforma. Paz, como decías antes. Y cómo expresa esa paz dentro del caos de la sociedad que estamos viviendo.
Yo podría seguir escuchándote todo el día. Pues, Javier Bustamante, muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros y realmente es un regalo tenerte como amigo y gracias por compartir con nosotros. Y ahora, quédense con más de Cristo para Todos.
And so in that one, and I have to say, I do not like watching myself. So that was Javier Bustamante, he's a very good friend of mine as well. He's director of youth and young adults for the Diocese of Metuchen. And he was talking about the theme for that show was giving God control in our lives. So it was just, it's a gift to be able to meet with friends, like how you started this show. Like, it's just nice to be able to have a conversation with someone, and I learned from him that day. It was just a profound conversation. So for me too, it's just a gift to be a part of something like this. It's really neat. So the interview, I would say, is the focal point of every episode. And then we have a prayer and a meditation, a reading from scripture. And then we also, well, and you'll see in a sec, we have our music ministry, Gethsemane. So if we could roll that third clip.
Nuestra vida está alineada con tu voluntad. Y pedimos todo esto por nuestro Señor Jesucristo. Amén.
Gracias, Javier, por habernos acompañado en este programa. Adelante, y espero que no sea la última vez en vernos.
Pues esperemos que no.
Y gracias a ustedes también por acompañarnos hoy en Cristo para Todos. Y ahora, otra vez más con el Ministerio Gethsemane.
Awesome. So just a little taste too to see. In Gethsemane, they write their own songs that really go with the different themes for the shows, and then they use some of the hymns, you know, throughout Latin America that also would resonate and help break open that topic for that, you know, specific show. But it's great, and yeah, it's very exciting.
Well, you're very natural, and it's kind of like just talking in the living room, and you know, or sitting down at the diner with somebody and having a conversation, which I think is just a beautiful way to express your inner faith and not just reading from a book or something like that.
Well, and I try. It's not as easy as I thought it would be, and actually to try and look into a camera and speak into a camera or read a teleprompter, it's a lot more challenging than I thought. And it was great, you know, Javier and many other guests so far have been coming to be a part of the show, but for one of our topics in particular, it was about seeing Christ, recognizing Christ's face in others. And I happen to have a good friend who was also a Jesuit volunteer in Peru, but he lives in Chicago. And I thought he would be perfect to be interviewed on that show. And we were able to use through Skype. We interviewed him here in the studio, but had Skype going. So I could see Jeff, Jeff could see me, we could hear each other, and we did the interview via Skype. So it's very exciting. And knowing that it is a show in Spanish, you know, really we see it as, and that many of our Spanish-speaking congregation here in the Diocese of Trenton, they have family in other countries around Latin America. It's a great way to connect too, and maybe using Skype in the future, we're hoping it'll open doors and help the Diocese of Trenton evangelize and connect with other dioceses around Latin America. Really,
they might help
awesome.
evangelize us and connect with them.
Yes, oh, by all means.
You know, sometimes I sit back and say, where are we going? I mean, it's a gift for all this communication and all the skills that we do have. Tell me, Matthew, what are some of the maybe other guests that you might have in mind, or some of the other topics you might have in mind?
Well, and I brought my list, but you know, some of the topics, we're going to talk about, like, what do we have? How do you check your baggage? You know, what are some of the things that you carry in life that you know, that weigh you down? We have another show that's on walking in the footsteps of the lepers, and what does it mean to be marginalized? And you know, we actually had a ministry group from El Salvador in town, and I was able to use them as they were our guest for that show to help break open that topic. We're going to have a show on interviewing the devil, so we'll see. That's to come. So we'll see how that one goes. But you know, so many temptations, and that the devil really is trying to you know, be in relationship with us.
You know, when you talk about the lepers, I've always thought that that's a gospel that we have to spend a lot more time on, because you know, we all have a little leper in us.
Oh, by all means.
And it's so easy to. I used to even tell my family, I said, you know, you can love me when I just get my hair combed and everything else, but when you kind of fall into pig stuff, sometimes it gets a little harder to love somebody, and yet that's the time we need the love, and that's the time that Christ always said, you know, I think to really be a Christian, you have to love the unlovable and forgive the unforgivable.
Yes.
And yet that's a great lesson we all have to learn and continually learn.
And for that episode, I shared, you know, I'm just very much surprised a little, and but blessed. These conversations, these interviews that I get to have, I take so much from them so far. And for that show to talk about the lepers and really walking with the marginalized, this group of young people from El Salvador are up here trying to raise money so that they can really walk with the poor of the poor back in their country.
And if we learn all that, we'll stop bullying, we'll stop a lot of things that really get in the way.
Get to see the love.
You know, and that's the stuff that you're talking about with the little devil kind of gets in.
Yes.
You know, and that's what goes on in all of our lives.
But you asked about other guests too, and just you know, even around our diocese, there are so many Spanish-speaking people who are so involved and committed to their faith. So I'm really trying to reach out to them and get them to be a part of the show. You know,
And the
it's
nice thing
show.
about it is that there's such family people.
Yes.
You know, with the youngsters
Sure.
and you know, and the babies crying and
Sure.
the dogs barking and everything else goes on. It's just so natural and beautiful.
For sure. And so really it takes a whole mentality, you know, from part of the leadership of the church. How do we walk with the Hispanic community and really open doors for them? So I mentioned earlier that, you know, with taking away the Hispanic apostolate, that, you know, that the Department of Youth, Marriage and Family Life is really, and other departments as well, but looking to unify and intentionally change their efforts or their perspectives. There's also Bishop O'Connell created the Department of Multicultural Ministries and Outreach, and really the focus there is not to do the work that the Hispanic Apostolate have been doing, but really to help the parish leadership, help our priests, our pastors, the parish staffs to gain the skills necessary to, first of all, recognize the different cultural communities in their parishes, but then also to know how to walk with them and how to empower them and engage them.
Didn't Paul say it somehow about no male or female, you know, Jew or Greek? I mean, we're all part of the Christness, and that's a key. We got to understand more about Christness, I think, man.
And I always think too, you know, I think of growing up, big Italian family, we would have the adult table and then the kid table. And I think we've had a mentality where, you know, oh, we have to invite these other cultures, other ethnicities that have been at kind of like the kid table in our diocese to the big table. But no, we're one table, and how do we celebrate that and make room?
And make sure that, you know, you're about the Italians, I'm thinking about the Irish. We make sure we at least have a table, you know,
Yeah.
so we can all share Tell me something about, you know, the title, Cristo para Todos, and also the newspaper that you got going, which is exciting.
Yes. So Cristo para Todos is Christ for All is the TV show. But I've also been thinking, you know, when the Hispanic Apostolate was in existence, you know, they did a lot of just amazing work, amazing ministry. But it was almost like it created a parallel diocese that we would do stuff in the English language, we would do stuff in the Spanish language, and never the twain shall meet. So I'm trying to manipulate and use the title of Cristo para Todos, Christ for all that we do. You know, helping the Hispanic community recognize that they're needed and they're part of the Diocese of Trenton, which is for everybody. And I actually, Monsignor, I brought you a T-shirt, and I thought it would match your outfit.
There you
We've got the black and the white, but Christ for All, and that's our logo. So wear it proudly, please.
I will wear it very proudly.
Awesome. And for our other really, you know, work in media, we have our newspaper, which is called Peces, which is plural of fish, and it's called Red de Esperanza, which means the network of hope. And so this is hot off the presses. It hasn't gone to the real printer yet, but this will be the first edition that I'm a part of. And really what the idea is with Peces is it's an evangelizing tool that, you know, we hope that I'll put news in there that's things happening in our, you know, largely Hispanic parishes, different events, whatever news, what they want to put out there, kind of let it be a vehicle for them, a tool for them to share their voice, but also to connect with some of the other opportunities that may not, you know, they may not know is happening, or that are opportunities that are for them in our own diocese. So, and then there's also just different articles as well on the national and international level too, to recognize that we are one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, you know, so trying to really build bridges. That's how I see my role and what my hope is with all of this.
Now, some of the bridges that you're building, you know, through this multicultural experience, I'm going to say something which I don't know much about in a way, but let's say with the Hispanic community, I mean, some of them might have different ways from some of the different Hispanic countries that we have, or South America, Central America. Now, will that all be part of your newspaper to try to bring that all together somehow and share it with not just prayer and liturgy, but share it with enjoyment and food and all of those?
That's my hope. I think that there is such a richness that even among the Hispanic community in all the different countries and cultures and areas within different countries, like Mexico is huge. I don't think a lot of people from the U.S. we don't recognize how big Mexico is. There's so many different regions. But so yes, to have this be a tool so that all the people in our diocese, they can kind of share what their story looks like, what their road has looked like, share their culture. And actually we have a column, it's called, it's in a Quechua word. Oh, and I don't have it right here. Oh, here it is. Pachacutec, which is a Quechua word, which is one of the indigenous languages in Peru and in South America. And it means earthquakes of the heart. So like, an idea is that hopefully through Paces, we can kind of shake something up. It can be a tool to unite, but also to educate and help us form and evangelize and connect, help people connect, to connect the dots.
What is your view, Matthew? Like I know my experience as a priest. We have liturgies of bilingual, etc. Does that help unite us, or would the folks rather have their own language in the entirety of a liturgy? How do you see that in the future, helping or not helping?
Sure, I think there's a time and a place. The bilingual Mass where you may have one reading or another reading in English or Spanish or a different language or different songs. I think for larger celebrations, and especially diocesan celebrations, like when I used to look to plan the DYC, our diocesan youth celebration, I would really try and make it a point to have different languages in there. But that doesn't take away the necessity, I think, for within parish communities to offer Mass in Spanish. There are so many, people who don't speak English or don't understand the language enough to be able to really get something more from Mass. As someone who's traveled and lived in Latin America, it is definitely beautiful to know that when you go to Mass, you know what's happening there, regardless of the language. We know that Christ is present, Christ is there. So all the gestures and the actions are the same, but I think it's important to not, so what we're about here is an intercultural intentionality or recognition. We're not trying to replace or simply just mesh or throw little components together, but work to really unify and recognize these different walks of faith that are valuable.
Matthew, how can people be in touch with the website or the media of events that people would be interested in the work you're doing?
Online, if you go to Peces de Trenton, which is Fishes of Trenton, but that's our monitor website, the Peces monitor website. And then on YouTube, we have Cristo para Todos, DOT, for Diocese of Trenton. Check it out. You'll see all the programs there.
Please check it out. Isn't it marvelous what we're doing in the world? The Spirit of God is moving us to share with each other our gifts, our talents, our faith, and pray for each other. Thank you. God bless you, Matthew. Always, always, always a pleasure, brother.
Thank you, Monsignor. You're fantastic.
Always a pleasure. God love you. Good. Very nice.